Hey friends, how's it going? Ash here. Welcome back to Gents. Hope that you're doing well. Today I've got for you guys 10 different fragrances that are absolutely perfect if you are a beginner who really knows nothing about fragrances and you just want something that's going to get you compliments, that has versatility, that's easy to wear, easy to wrap your head around, nothing that's too potentially divisive. That's what these are. These 10 right here are fragrances that you can basically grab on, spray on, and go, and it's just gonna work. It gets the job done, each one of these. The reason I decided to do this video is actually the other night I was out to dinner, my wife and I, with another husband and wife that we're friends with, and he's wanting some fragrances, right? He's starting to get into it. He's wanting some stuff that smells good that he can wear around. And his wife, she did research, okay? She put in time, she put in effort. She's a keeper, right? She picked out 2 fragrances that she thought smelled awesome. And when I tell you these 2 fragrances, most of you out there are gonna be like, oh, you crushed it, yes, good job. So she picked Gentleman Eau de Parfum and Tom Ford Noir Extreme. She picked those solely based off the research she did, and she thought they smelled awesome. Bought them for him, and guess what? He hated both of them. So this is like a Twilight Zone kind of deal. Usually it would be, the guy picks these fragrances out because they're a little more complex, a little more going on, but again, potentially more divisive, and then the girl doesn't like it. A lot of times that's what'll happen. This is the reverse. The girl picked out those fragrances, dude didn't like them. And while yes, his wife enjoyed them. Ultimately, it doesn't matter if you don't wear them, right? If you don't like it, you're not gonna wear it. And I think that's the important thing to take away from here. Make sure you get something that you like that you're gonna wear, because ultimately, that's what matters most. But let's not get too philosophical here about any of this. Let's just jump into the fragrances. These ones are ones that you can easily wear, that most everybody is going to enjoy. And actually one of these fragrances here is what he chose as his fragrance that he wants going forward, because I gave him just a whole bunch of samples and was like, here you go, pick something, man. And he did. As always, these are all linked in the description. Feel free to check them out down there. We're gonna start off with the first fragrance, which is the one that he decided to go for. So I know some of you out there are gonna be like, what? He can't pick that over Gentleman Eau de Parfum or Noir Extreme. What's wrong with you? But I'm not gonna argue it, because the fragrance that he chose is Profundo. That's right, Aqua Profundo, baby. You can say what you want about Aqua, whether we're talking the original or any of the multitude of flankers that have come after, but one thing is for sure, Aqua is a scent profile, DNA, if you wanna call it that people love. It's easy to wear, it's a compliment puller, it's really versatile, it's a great modern masculine scent, this one, I feel like. It is more masculine than the original Aqua because that, kind of floral feel is toned down. You have some added minerality, some added green aspects to the scent, but it still is, at the end of the day, very fresh, clean, aquatic fragrance. So Aqua Profundo, that's the first one that I'm gonna go with here, because that is the one that they decided to roll with. And when I tell you I gave them a lot of samples, I gave them a lot of samples. Frankly, too many. My wife was like, I don't know, give them like 10 or something like that. I was like, oh, you mean 10,000? Is that what you meant? After that, a very obvious one, Yves Saint Laurent Y Eau de Parfum. This is one of the biggest blue fragrances on the market today. Quite sweet, but with really good performance, good staying power. I think it's an all year fragrance. Some people would choose not to wear this during summertime, but I think as long as you don't go crazy heavy with the amount that you're spraying on with the application, then it works perfectly during the summer. And again, I've referenced this in the past, but I've smelled people wearing stuff like Saage Elixir sprayed on decently heavy in the summer, and nobody's batting an eye. Now, there are certain situations I would definitely not do that in the summer, but within reason, you can get away with this easily year round. The apple in the opening here gives it an interesting kind of twist compared to most of the other blue fragrances on the market. Good amount of amberwood as it dries down. Just an easy, everyday fragrance with really good performance. So Y Eau de Parfum is one I would point toward people. What? I would point toward people. I would point people toward. Dude. Also, Y Eau de Toilette. You can go with that one if you're looking for something a little bit fresher, a little less sweet, and I think that one's better suited for office use overall. And then if you want to go with a more youthful one, Y Live instead of Y Eau de Parfum. And if you like Y Eau de Parfum, but you want it a little bit more mature, a little more grown up, Y Le Parfum. So there's kind of like a Y for everybody. After that one, Le Beau from JPG. Now, this is a fragrance that I was not overly hyped about when it first came out. Thought it was okay, you know, nothing terrible. But as time went on, I really came to enjoy this more and more, which does happen from time to time. When you have something and you're just doing first impressions, you know, that's kind of what it is, first impressions. And there are fragrances, which I'm sure you, dear viewer, would have one or two of, where as you wear it more, you kind of know what's gonna come from the fragrance. You kind of know what to expect in the opening, the mid, the dry down. And as you wear it out and about and you catch whiffs of it through the day, you're just like, wow, man, it's actually way better than I thought it was initially. That's what happened with this one. Go ahead and spray this bad boy on here real quick. Like, yeah, here we go. Oh, yeah, it smells how I remember. Very fresh initially. You got bergamot in there, coconut, tonka as it dries down. So get this freshness, a little bit of that tropical feel from the coconut, and then you get the sweetness, the warmth from the tonka as it dries, kind of a vanilla feel to it. Another one that could be used year round. You can wear this during the summer, you can wear this during the winter. Le Beau Le Parfum is also great. That one, just a compliment monster for me this year, for whatever that's worth. But I think Le Beau and Le Beau Le Parfum both great options for somebody who wants something that's pretty easy to wear, but they want something a little different from your more typical blue scent. Let's go very fresh with the next one, Missoni Wave. Ooh, Missoni Wave is one of those scents that if you can pick this up for that good, sweet, low discounted price, one of the best buys you can make. Only issue with that is, as time has gone on, more and more people have figured out that this is a great scent for the price and have scooped it up, so it's been a little bit harder to find than it once was, and the price has gone up a little bit at discounters as well. Because at one point in time, this was around 30 bucks flat, just about 30 bucks. Nowadays, I think it's typically more around 40 at discounters when it's in stock, so not a huge increase, $10, but then you could also view that as a 33% price increase. So still though, presentation here is solid. It's got a great looking bottle, nice gradient to it, magnetic cap, you know I love that. And as you saw, the atomizer, very good as well. There's a weird little misting motion I did there. So you've got aquatic notes in here, citrus, lavender. It's got kind of a similarity to Versace Pour Homme or Chanel Allure Homme Sport. So in that style, in that vein, something that works really well in spring, summer, early fall. Great to the office, good casually. You could wear it on a date as well. It is a compliment puller. So a lot to love about this one. To be honest with you guys, I'm waiting on some more Missoni. Like now, yesterday. Because this one came out in 2020 and here we are, end of 2023, and I ain't got no more Missoni. So 2024, if any of you guys are paying attention at Missoni, give us something new, man. Do make sure it still has a magnetic cap though, because I like that. Speaking of magnetic caps, Saage. Now I know, I've heard it all. Saage this, Saage that. But Saage Eau de Toilette, if we're honest, is one of the easiest wearing fragrances that has been made for men in the past, I don't know, 2 decades. It's also pretty much been the best-selling men's fragrance in the United States ever since it came out. There's one other fragrance that does battle with it, but more often than not, Saage comes out on top year after year after year. So while it is extremely common, there's a reason for that, and that is that if you're a beginner, if you're wanting something that people are gonna love, that has great performance, that you can use all year round, this does that. It's a bit fresh, has a good amount of ambroxan, a slight metallic feel to it off the top, but not off-putting at all, and then has a fresh spiciness also. This one does get bagged on, of course, for being generic, for being boring, whatever, what have you, whatnot, herefore, theretofore. But I feel like if you're honest and you approach it in a way that is without bias, then you would say that when Saage released, it was not generic. What smelled like Saage when it came out? Honestly, nothing. You can say that there are other fragrances that were blue fragrances, sure, but that doesn't mean they smell the same. There are fragrances out nowadays that smell like Saage, but when it released, it was its own thing. So Saage Eau de Toilette, this one, yeah, it's an obvious choice, but just because it's obvious does not mean it would not work. After that, we have a Burberry Hero, the Eau de Parfum. Also, the Eau de Toilette would work as well, but I think the Eau de Parfum is a little bit more interesting for me overall, so that's why I'm putting that one in here. The Eau de Toilette, very easy wearing, versatile, modern, woody fragrance. A lot of cedar in that one. So while there's a lot of cedar in the Eau de Toilette, there's also a lot of cedar here. 3 different types of cedar, I believe, in the base of this fragrance, but it's not quite as wood forward as the Eau de Toilette, and also not quite as fresh. This one is a little bit deeper and a bit sweeter as well. So you have a good dose of benzoin in there, a little bit of incense, some like pine as well off the top. So you get this kind of warm, sexy, sort of inviting fragrance, good for fall and winter, with a nice woody undertone that doesn't become overbearing. It sometimes gets overlooked a little bit as far as like the fragrance community goes, because Burberry Hero, the original Eau de Toilette, was panned a little bit for being again, boring, but it does work really well. This one, I think, is the one to go for though, because again, a little more interesting while still maintaining that wearability from the EDT. Talking about Eau de Parfum, how about Eros Eau de Parfum? It's kind of like Goldilocks in the line. Now, Versace Eros, another one like Sauvage, like Y, like Aqua de Joe, that just about everybody's gonna recognize. I mean, the bottle, instantly recognizable, and this is the best-selling fragrance from Versace, the Eros line, I should say, not necessarily the Eau de Parfum. So it's pretty easy, even if you know nothing, to see this and be like, oh, yeah, I've seen that. I think I know what that is. So with this one, you have mint, you have apple, vanilla in there, and Broxen as well. Frankly, a good amount of notes, actually. So this one is not quite as youthful as the Eau de Toilette, but still younger guys can easily wear it. It's just a little bit more grown up. You know, it's a little bit bolder, I feel like, a little bit richer, not quite as syrupy sweet as the EDT is off the top. Just another one that I think is excellent for year-round use. I've harped on this before, but Eros in general makes a good office fragrance. It really does. Just don't spray it on crazy. As long as you do that, this thing works perfectly. It's a nice balance between the Eau de Toilette and the Parfum right there in the middle. Another blue fragrance alert. Yeah, Bleu de Chanel. I just felt like I had to put the big 3 in here: Sauvage, Y, and Bleu de Chanel. I mean, really, those are the go-to beginner fragrances for so many people, so I felt like each one had to be represented. Now this is the Eau de Toilette, same as Sauvage being the Eau de Toilette. This one is gonna be the freshest of the lineup, but depending on what you're after in a fragrance, maybe the Eau de Parfum or the Parfum would work better for you. I do think that of these 3 blue fragrances, that Bleu de Chanel is the classiest of the bunch. So if you're looking for one that's gonna be a little bit better suited to, you know, a more formal occasion or a business occasion or something like that, something a little bit higher end, a little bit more elevated, then Bleu de Chanel is gonna be your choice over Sauvage or Y. But I also think that between these 3, Bleu de Chanel has the lowest performance, at least for me. It's not awful. It's just Sauvage is a beast, and Y Eau de Parfum is a big time performer as well. So this one sits a little closer to the skin. You know, it doesn't project quite as much, doesn't have quite as much longevity. And by that same token, because of that, or part of the reason, this does not pull quite as many compliments as these 2 fragrances. Now, of course, Bleu de Chanel is still the type of scent that just about everybody's gonna love. Really, all of these are. It's just Sauvage and Y, where they're a little bit more in your face, are gonna get you noticed a little bit more typically. But again, Bleu de Chanel, very classy, very elegant for what it is for this type of blue fragrance. Has a very appealing opening, nice citrus in there off the top, little incense. As it dries down, gives it a nice body, a nice depth. So Bleu de Chanel, of course, gotta put that in there. And then we've got Ralph's Club from Ralph Lauren. And really, this one kind of plays in the same ballpark as Bleu de Chanel, Sauvage, or especially Y. Because even though this does not have a blue bottle, at the end of the day, this is still really a blue fragrance. Very nice and clean, has a gentlemanly kind of lavender feel to it in there as well. It's a fragrance somewhat similar to Hero in that when this was first released, a lot of people wrote it off as being boring, as being generic. But once again, I think it actually smells extremely pleasant, and everybody I've ever had smell this has loved it. So you have a semi-sweet kind of lavender, clary sage, dries down to a very easygoing, modern, woody scent profile. So it's aromatic, clean, a little sweet, versatile, modern, easy to wear. And I would put this up there with, you know, some of the biggest compliment pullers here. At least in my own personal experience, this one hangs with the big dogs as far as that goes. Sounds weird. Hang with the flamingos. All right, last up, Valentino Uomo Born in Roma. This is not my personal favorite of the list, but I still do think that if you're just getting into fragrances, something like this would work very well for you, especially if you're a younger guy. Has a little bit of a similarity to that Invictus style of fragrance, that Invictus kind of scent profile, you know, that sweetness, that sort of bubble gumminess. It has that. That being said, it does have a marked minerality to it that Invictus doesn't have. That makes this one not quite as abrasively sweet as the original Invictus could come across, and gives it more of a modern flair. Between the two, this one and Invictus, I'd rather wear this one nowadays. And again, I think for younger guys especially, perfect scent. It's got good performance without being overbearing. It's very versatile and people love it. I would say though, if you want to get something that's maybe not quite as versatile overall, but I think is a better scent, you probably would want to go with like Valentino Uomo Born in Roma Intense or Coral Fantasy. I think both of those are better overall fragrances to this one, though maybe are not quite as versatile. Close, just not quite as much. So there we go. These right here, I think if you're just getting started, you know nothing at all, you just want something that's going to work, start with one of these. Some of them are better for spring, summer, like this one. Some are better for fall, winter, like this one. Others are year round, but each one of these is really easy going. Thank you guys for hanging with me. Stay safe out there. I'll see you guys tomorrow with another fragrance video. See you all later.